Economic activity rises, grows, and develops in space, not simply on the chalkboard. But in economics, we often ignore the importance of space in our analysis. So firms and economic actors in general choose their locations the same way they choose their production factors and their technology. You may notice in the city where you live that all the fast food restaurants are clustered in one place, all the bars are clustered in another place, all the manufacturing, if it's left, clustered in still another. We see this in the real world. Space influences the workings of an economic system. It's a source of economic advantages or disadvantages, like high or low endowments of productive factors. It also generates geographical advantages, like the easy or difficult accessibility of an area to a high endowment of raw materials. Think of the development theory that rivers and navigable waterways are important for early economic development. If you live in a place like Morgantown or Pittsburgh or even my hometown of Williamsport, Pennsylvania, you'd see the importance of rivers every day. If you're up on the sixth floor of Reynolds, you can look down and see the Mon River working. This seems like a simple idea, but it's really powerful. And we can and we should extend our consideration of space beyond just thinking of agglomeration effects and natural resources. And through this course, we're going to see how to include space into many different economic models. For much of mainstream economics, space has been abstracted away under the assumption of frictionless markets and homogeneous agents. But once you reintroduce space into the analysis, everything starts to change. Now, this is the domain of regional economics, of urban economics, and increasingly applied spatial economics. These fields explicitly incorporate geography, distance, and location into economic reasoning. Once you take space seriously, you realize that economic geography is not neutral and we can't ignore it. So two regions with identical endowments can have wildly different outcomes depending on where they lie in space, who they're near, what sort of infrastructure they have, and how mobile their population is. Including space in our analysis adds complexity. That's why it took economists so long to start to do that. But that complexity is structured and it's incredibly informative for our models. We may not always need to add space to an economic model. I know I've worked with plenty that don't incorporate space, but it can really add something important. And when you ignore using it, especially when it's appropriate, you risk drawing misleading conclusions. So think about it. A policy that works in one place may fail completely in another simply because the spatial context is different. And now, empirically, we have the tools to handle it. So things like high resolution spatial data, GIS, remote sensing, administrative data sets at a really, really local level. So there's been a new wave of spatial empirical economics, something that I have done a little bit of, using methods like spatial econometrics or structural spatial models to pin down causal effects. And that's what we're going to be working with in this course.